Hello everyone, how you doing today? We're really excited for the opportunity to be participating in this virtual summit with all the fire chiefs across Canada. My name is Kevin Sofin and I'm the Business Development Manager at WS Darley and Company for our virtual reality training program. And here to my virtual side, I have the Chief Technology Officer of Flame Systems, James Mullins. James, to start us off, give us a little background on who you are and what is Flame Systems.
Well, g'day all, and welcome. Flame's an Australian company, actually, so I'm talking to you nearly live from Australia. My background is I'm 26 years with our state-based fire service, the Country Fire Authority. We have some pretty challenging fire conditions in our part of the world, large bushfires, quite diverse terrain types in our state. And I went away to university and did an engineering degree, robotics, and worked predominantly in the police military space for nearly 20 years. And about 10 years ago, we started developing technologies for training. And I guess Flame Systems spun out of some research we were doing quite some years ago to develop next generation training tools. And it was really a combination of my two passions of firefighting and immersive technologies. Now, I guess the technology itself really enables you to train in an immersive world. We can create any kinds of virtual environments, from structural fires, car fires, aircraft incidents, brush fires, scrub fires, grass fires, and create the sense of realism that you're actually there, enabling more immersive, more dynamic training than we currently do.
And so for James, for someone that doesn't know what is virtual reality or what is immersive learning, give us the 101 on what this is and why this is something that fire chiefs across the world, particularly in Canada, should be aware of.
Look, I guess we use the term immersive learning because it encompasses a number of different technologies, and virtual reality is one of them. So virtual reality enables us to put people into a virtual experience visually. So you wear a headset, head-mounted display, so that you can see rich visuals and look and walk around your environment and manage and understand risks on the fireground. Immersive technologies, which is what we're all about, takes that one step further and creates the physicality of the firefight. So we have a system that you wear as an SCBA pack on your back. It generates heat. So as you walk towards the fire, you'll feel the radiant heat on the front of you. If you turn around, you'll feel it behind you. We generate jet or nozzle reaction force from the fire hose itself. So if you're working on an aircraft incident, for example, or a long duration firefight, it's taxing on the body, it's physically exhausting, it's hard work holding onto that fire hose. We have a lung demand valve and a face mask that goes on to capture the metrics of how much air you use. So it's all about putting all of those sensory experiences together as a firefighter, putting you in front of an incident or a fire of some kind, and letting you make decisions. And really, immersive environments are all about understanding decision making, putting people in front of an incident that they may or may not have seen before, and seeing how they cope. We want people to make radio calls. We want people to make or approach the fire. We want them to do a 360 or a size up. We want them to understand, how to fight that fire. And then we want them to make mistakes. Ultimately, at the end of the day, immersive experiences allow you to make mistakes in a safe environment, and we can have an instructor beside you feeding you back information, restart, and off we go again.
I think that's one of the most important parts, is to allow students to make mistakes in safe environments. And there's also a case study that we'll send to all of you that dives into the economic cost, the environmental cost, and the health cost. And I'd love to hear from you on what are the true costs of hot fire training. I know there's a lot of staff that's required and huge economic costs with that, but this is one great alternative training solution with the Flame Trainer. And we don't want to do the death by PowerPoint here or death by two guys on the screen. So what we're going to do now is show you a marketing video that was created for the Flame Trainer. And then James is going to run you through a demo. So I'm going to share my screen now and going to now show a Flame Trainer video right here. Here we go. See my messy desktop. It's okay. And here is a short video.
All firefighters face the challenge of feeling prepared, confident, and ready to fight the next fire. It is difficult for training organisations to safely recreate the conditions of a real fire for training firefighters. There's now a new, safe way to prepare firefighters for the fireground: Flame Trainer, a world-first firefighter simulator that uses virtual reality and haptic technology. Flame Trainer immerses firefighters in a real fire scenario where they can feel heat and hose pulls, along with realistic sound and vision. You can set up Flame Trainer in around 10 minutes. It comes in 2 suitcases with backpack, self-contained breathing apparatus, hose reel and branch, virtual reality subsystem with computer and interfaces, heat suit, and scenario software. The equipment fully integrates with industry-standard firefighter personal protective equipment, realistically simulating all of the firefighter's senses. To enhance training outcomes, Flame Trainer tracks user performance. The instructor can monitor the firefighter's air usage and respiration on the system's tablet and provide live feedback on firefighting techniques. Flame Trainer has over 30 real fire scenarios that mimic real fire behavior, including its movement, smoke, flashovers, and explosions. Flame can develop new firefighting scenarios to meet specialist training needs. You can now train anywhere at any time. Flame Trainer takes the training to your firefighters and can be shipped easily if you have instructors in multiple locations. Flame Systems is based in Geelong, Australia, and was born from 10 years hardware and software development research at Deakin University.
Now that we went through that video, it'd be great to sort of see a first person and somewhat third person point of view. I know you're the CTO, so you kind of do everything. But if you could now to give us a little rundown on how to set up the product and give us a short demonstration here.
Yeah, sure. Look, I guess I'll just come back to that. This is a portable system. It's designed to set up in about 10 minutes in an engine bay. Pull your appliance out, pull your truck out, and set it up really quickly, and do that repetitive training that's often quite hard to do. You know, we can be simulating bushfires when it's snowing outside. We can be doing propane or LPG gas fire attack. So I guess that's the value of the 35 current scenarios that we do, and then we add more and more every year to enable you to put your firefighters in front of these sorts of environments and see how they cope. The other thing too is certainly over here in Australia, we can't use foam for training anymore. The PFOS, PFOA contaminants, the carcinogens from the fire itself. So we're moving to a lot more gas-fired props, which are great, but don't always necessarily recreate the same physics of the firefight. And what we can do in virtual reality is, or in these immersive virtual environments, is to be able to create these kinds of different types and classes of fuels and see how the suppressant stream interacts with them. I guess what I'll do now, I'm going to just jump into the system and show you what it looks like. So I've got an SCBA here. I'm going to put that on my back. I'm not going to put the full heat suit on today. We do have a heat suit though. So this can be worn underneath your own PPE, and it has heating pads around the front and the back, so it heats you up. You can get quite warm in this system. We see people coming out of it sweating and out of breath, as you would be on the fireground. Okay, so what this system allows me to do is, as an instructor, launch some different training environments. So I'm going to pull up a hay shed fire here, and I'm going to put my headset on.
So you can see James in the upper left, but for your full view, I'm going to put this in the first person point of view here.
You can see I've got my my nozzle or branch. I can control the flow rate, the pattern, the litres or gallons per minute. But what I can do here is I can move around the entire environment. So I can physically move, as you can see here. I can squat, I can get down. Or if I want to walk around a much bigger area, I can go around the back of the shed. Now, we always tell our firefighters to do a proper 360 to really understand the risks and the exposures. A lot of firefighters will just go on and try and attack that hay fire. But what I want to do is go around the back and see what's going on. Now, we can see here we've got a propane or an LPG tank. If I don't cool that tank will levy. You can see it's starting to vent. The pressure relief valve is activating. If I let this go for probably another 30, 45 seconds, it would levy, explode, take out the shed, and not a good day for anyone. So we're going to cool this tank down. Try and get that liquid below the boiling point. It's all physics-based environments, physics-based scenarios, so we need to do things properly. I'm going to cool that bale down. But also I'm going to be getting on the radio and we're going to be talking about what further resources we're going to need. So for a hay fire like this, we're going to need to pull apart that hay, otherwise we're going to be here all day. We probably don't have a great water supply in this environment, so we're going to be talking with the firefighter in the system about what kind of resources they would need, what are the risks, what are the exposures and things like this. Now, while this is a bit of a rural environment, I'm just going to stop this here. On my tablet, I've got an after action review, so I can be making notes about the student and how they're performing. But I'm going to bring up a different scenario. Hopefully you can see me again. Now, this is how quickly you can stop, restart, and get back into new scenarios. So in this scenario, I'm in a residential street. I've been called to a structure fire. In this case, it's a kitchen fire.
And James, communicate really quick what you just did right there, the teleport feature.
Yeah, so I can push a button on my branch or nozzle and choose where I want to move in the environment. So in this case, I'm going to go up onto the doorstep and I let go of my button, choose which way I want to face, and I'm instantly there. It just saves me having to walk around a bigger area because I might not have a really large open space for training. I can open doors. Now, I can see that there's a bit of a smoke layer further into the building. It doesn't look like a huge amount of smoke, but you can see if I move into that smoke, visibility is not great. If I get down low, I've got much better. And I can see around the corner that I do have kitchen cabinetry on fire. So I can come around here. It isn't a big fire, but I can get into that. I can adjust my pattern from a full fog through to a jet. I can get down low so I can see a little bit further. I can move into the environment.
And James, what are the different PSI or bar ratings that the system has and that the haptics can simulate?
Yeah, so look, we can go from 500 to 700 KPI, or about, I think it's 60 to 100 PSI. So standard sort of pressures for a hose line of this size. And then obviously we can go over, we can open doors, we can start to ventilate, we can get more visibility and all this sort of stuff. Now, obviously, haven't put this out properly. As an instructor, I can see how much water is being used. If I'd had my mask on, we could see how much air we've been using. We could be talking to the student the entire time because we don't have noisy pumps running. We don't necessarily have to have masks on so that we can be communicating what that fire attack looks like. So you can see we've got our burn marks here. It's burned our kitchen pretty badly. And then it'll pop up and it'll tell us how much suppressant we've used, in this case water, how much air we've used, I don't have my mask on, and how much time it actually took me to attack that fire after I'd started. I'm going to bring up another scenario now, just to show you the depth of what we can create. So this one, I'm going to bring up an airbase. Airbase at night, and we're going to bring up a larger aircraft type. And this is probably not something we would normally go to as domestic firefighters, but you never know. So we can train for the 1%ers in this kind of a system. Sorry, Kevin?
One thing you always talk about is the last thing you do in a lot of these situations is put out the fire. So how does a situation like this or training in this environment allow you to train on not just putting out the fire, but everything before you actually put out the fire?
Yeah, great question. And look, this is all about dynamic risk assessment. That's what this tool is. It enables us to put trainees in front of an incident that they may not have ever been to before. We can give them further information to make that scenario as hard or as easy as we deem that trainee is fit for. But we want them to try and understand what they would be doing. So they might be a new firefighter, they might be doing a command and control course, they might be a quite senior firefighter that needs to think about different things. So, in this instance, I'd be talking about, well, where are my exposures? How do I protect this aircraft? Where's the fuel? What messaging do I have to call through to the tower? Am I talking about rescue? Is there crew involved? What my further resources are, what sort of foam and fuel and so forth I might use. And when I spoke about foam before, this is a foam scenario. So I do actually have foam. I can switch back to water if I want. I might move a little bit closer. I might physically walk a little bit closer. I'm going to start attacking this. But it is really about a dynamic risk assessment. So how do I move and how do I approach this and how do I understand what the best way of attacking this fire is? I'm not going to run through all of this one. This one takes a little while, but it's about smothering that engine, starving the supply of fuel to the engine fire in this case, and moving forward. But let's get a little bit more in there. I'm not too worried about the fuel on the tarmac. That's not going to go anywhere. I can put it out if I want. I'm going to smother that. But I'll stop there. I might show a couple more.
And James, talk about the ability to make custom scenarios or new scenarios for environments that may not exist but could exist.
Yeah, well, look, every 3 months or so we push out new scenarios for our customer base, and that's based on customer demand and what we're hearing from our customers all over the world. If certain fire departments have specific environments that they need to do pre-planning for, it might be a specific refinery or a specific factory that has a known fuel loading, we can actually create those environments very, very accurately. So we've done quite a large hardware store here in Australia, and anyone that's ever been into that store would know that environment and be able to walk around that. So I'm just going to launch this one up here. Now, they can be quite complex environments, so it can be quite simple, but the training you can get out of them is like any kind of environment. So here, we're a small, park service. We've been called to a cabin fire. We've got, our vehicles down here. We can go around. I'm not sure, hopefully you can see that. It is quite a dark scene. We've got a cabin fire here. So we're talking about structural collapse because we are downhill. If that collapses, it could go down the hill and get into our appliance. So we've got to worry about all that sort of stuff. We've probably obviously got limited water in this case. And, the exposure itself is the forest, although, it is at night, so it may not spread quite as quickly. So, we can start attacking that and knocking this fire down. We could be talking about, there might be LPG propane cylinders around, what some of those exposures might be. Now, you can see that fire will reignite if I haven't cooled the materials quite enough. It will start to re-burn, which is, realistic as well. Should I run through one more, Kevin?
Sure. Why not?
We're going to go into what I think we'd all call a petrol station. Kevin would probably call a gas station.
Oil, gas, petrol. Same.
So we've got refineries, we've got cars, we've got vehicle accidents. In this case, we're in an urban environment. We've got a car fire at what we in Australia call a service station. And we've got a running fuel fire. Now, this is ideal, obviously, so we're going to try and push some of this running fuel back, protect our pumps. The car itself looks like it's pretty far gone, so we're not going to worry too much about that. Initially, it's about protecting our exposures. I can walk forward, I can drag that hose line, and I can feel that I'm dragging. In this case, it's a 38mm hose line. I might decide that I want foam, and my instructor / pump operator can choose to change that. So now I can lay down a foam blanket, and that's going to have a much better effect on this running fuel fire. And then I can get into the fire itself and start to smother that car out. And you can see that I haven't quite hit the far side of that fire.
And James, and I know you're going through this final scene right now, but kind of in your layman's terms, you were able to go through all these different scenarios that frankly have all different types of hazards and risks to human health, economic risks, environmental health. What are some high level value propositions around the risk, the saving on risk and saving on cost and saving on human health that the Flame Trainer, from what you just showed us, offer fire chiefs and fire departments around the world?
Yeah, well, look, I've lost some good friends to health concerns in the fire service over the years, and I guess that was the initial reason why we got into doing this in the virtual space, is that we're not exposing people to carcinogens. I guess we're not trying to say this is going to replace hot fire training, far from it, but it enables us to do that one-on-one training that is often hard to do. You need multiple people, pump operators, safety people, to do traditional training. Probably the other point we'd make right now, which is I guess a little bit topical, is we can do one-on-one training, and that's what some of the air forces around the world are doing now with our system. With COVID, we can do that one-on-one, maintaining social distancing. We put a student in the system and instructors on the tablet, a metre or two away, running through, doing that one-on-one training without having to have a whole team of firefighters there to be able to support the learning of one individual. So I guess that's really interesting for us, and something we're really passionate about, being able to put people into incidents safely. We want people to make mistakes. I think the best learning outcomes come from when people make a bit of a mistake, and really hop into bed that night, think about it, and think, well, I won't do that again. And if it's done in the virtual environment, hopefully we won't see it in the real environment.
And I think it's important to reiterate, this is not meant to replace any of the real training, but to be integrated within the continuum of training to offer more repetitions, reduce exposure, and enable training that is getting harder to do due to things like COVID and environmental restraints.
Yeah.
So now I know we don't want to drain on too far here, but we still have some extra time, and what I'd like to do is now transition to the fire extinguisher. This is something that is not just for firefighters now, but for the community at large. So what I'd like to do is show a quick video of the fire extinguisher, similar to the marketing video, and then James will run through a quick demonstration.
Do you and others in your workplace know how to use the fire extinguisher hanging on the wall? Early response to fire saves lives and property. With our flame extinguisher training system, users learn how to extinguish a fire in the office, home, or workplace, so people are ready to act when a fire breaks out. Flame Extinguisher delivers hands-on training using cutting-edge virtual reality technology, immersing users in a fire scenario with realistic sound and vision. Users can learn how to operate water, dry chemical powder, foam, and CO2 extinguishers from anywhere. There is no mess. There are no chemicals and no impact on the environment, unlike when you use a real extinguisher for training. And it's more effective and engaging than online or PowerPoint training. You can set up Flame Extinguisher in under 5 minutes. It comes in a small suitcase with virtual reality subsystem, support equipment, and scenario software. The equipment fully integrates with industry-standard fire extinguishers. To enhance training outcomes, Flame Extinguisher tracks user performance. You can monitor the retardant usage, and workplace trainers can provide live feedback on technique and engage others in the room. Flame Extinguisher has over 15 fire scenarios that mimic real fire behavior, including movement, smoke, and the impact of different retardants. Flame can develop new workplace scenarios to meet specialist training needs. You can now train anywhere at any time. Flame Extinguisher can be shipped easily if you have employees in multiple locations.
All right. So James, any feedback from watching your marketing video again, or some comments before you run us through a demo here?
Look, I guess this is a system that we developed out of personal need. I guess we're a brigade or fire brigade that's on a really growth interface of a new suburb, and we found that about 95% of households don't have a fire extinguisher or a fire blanket, or don't know what to do in the case of fire. So we sort of came up with this concept of a really low cost technology to enable us to put members of the public in, to train them in how to use a fire extinguisher. We're finding that it's being used in industry. We're finding that fire houses and fire stations are buying these to be able to train for incursions when the public comes in, or when they get school groups or kindergarten groups in, to see what or how to use a fire extinguisher and get that education level up. So, will I just run onto a bit of a demo, Kevin?
Yep, please.
So this comes in a small case. Literally, it's a headset and an extinguisher with a little connection on the end. Hopefully you can see what I can see there, Kevin, can you?
Yep, and I will pin that screen now.
Okay, so I'm holding my extinguisher. I'm going to go in and, so I can look at the different kinds of extinguishers. In this case, I've got water, CO2, powder, foam, and it tells me what they can be used for. I can go into technique and it will run me through the pass system. So I'm going to pull the pin, I'm going to aim at the base of the fire, I'm going to squeeze the handle, I'm going to sweep the base of the fire. But what I want to do is go back into categories, and I'm going to go, in this case, into a business. I'm going to choose a pallet fire. And once I get into the virtual world, I can free roam, I can walk around this entire environment. But I'm in a warehouse of some form. I've got a pallet fire. It's giving me a choice of agents. In this case, I can probably use a couple of them. I might grab a water in this case, and I can walk around the fire physically. I'll probably be out of shot here, but I can attack this fire. Now, if I don't do it properly and I don't get at the seat of the fire and I just aim at one spot, for example, I might put that bit of fire out. But at some point, I'm going to run out of suppressant, because we all know we've only got about 20 seconds. So now I've got no more. It's going to pop up and tell me I failed to extinguish a fire. I ran out. Have a look at our suppressant application procedure. So I'm back at the start. I'm going to go into residential. I'm going to go to a fat fire. Now, I can guarantee you that most people in a house fire like this, when we ask them to put a fire out, everyone will say, what puts a fire out? Water. I'm going to grab my water extinguisher. And we should all know what's going to happen here, but that's not great. So we're going to learn from our mistakes. Once again, it's going to tell us we've used the wrong suppressant. The instructor that's standing beside you, that's watching what you're watching. So the screen that you're watching now is generally up on a TV so that everyone else can watch what's happening. That they can give you that feedback. So we've got national park fires. We've got let's go into a propane cylinder at a barbecue. Once again, leak out of the cylinder itself. We're going to get our dry chemical or powder or something. We're going to put that out pretty quickly, and you can see we're in a nice national parks environment there as well. So the whole point of this system is really about putting people in different situations, letting them use an extinguisher, and experiencing it. In this case, we're in a hospital. This is a real case or a real scenario that's happened, and that's an oxygen cylinder explosion in a hospital. Certainly something that you wouldn't want to be around. You can see the cylinders there on the ground, bit of a fire, and we're going to attack that. And we could walk around that environment too. So this environment could be quite large, and we can move through that environment. So I guess hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea of what the extinguisher trainer is. Very, very simple, very, very easy to use. Anyone can learn and train how to use the system in about 5 minutes. And when you put it in people's hands, members of the public's hands, they can learn how to use it within seconds.
Awesome. So I think we're about here at time, and want to encourage everyone that we appreciate your time, and can't wait to answer all these questions and learn more about how we can support ongoing fireground training and extinguisher training. Again, this is James Mullins, who's the CTO of Flame, one of the smartest guys I know. I just enjoy listening and learning from him. So I hope you all enjoyed listening and learning from him today as much as I did. But James, any final thoughts or comments you want to leave for the audience here today?
Look, I guess, this is just the beginning of where immersive training is going to go. So, we've got a roadmap going out for years. There's some really good companies that we're working with around the world. So I just encourage you to look at how immersive this environment is. We get people into an immersive environment and put railway tracks in front of them. They'll step over them. We had a young fellow in America recently attacking a car fire. After about 10 minutes, he was pretty worn out, and he put the fire out and he went to lean on the car. It was that immersive that people, actually believe they are in these environments. And really, it's about the training outcomes, the after action reviews, and the learnings. And that's what we start with and work backwards. And the technology should really disappear. It should all be about what training outcomes you need. How can we work with you to solve your problems?